Assalamu alaikum. In today's video, we are looking at another game of Mikhail Tal which he played against Ulf Andersson. This game was played in 1976 and at the time this game was played, Ulf Andersson was in the top 10 best players in the world. So now you know Ulf Andersson was a very strong player. In this game, Mikhail Tal was playing as a white, so he started the game with the e4 and now c5 Sicilian defense, knight to f3, d6, d4, c captures on d4, knight captures on d4 and now knight to f6 attacks the e4 pawn and now knight to c3 defend the e4 pawn. Andersson play e6, bishop to e2, bishop to e7 and now both players castle on the king's side. Now Mikhail Tal played f4. This is a very attacking move because now Mikhail Tal is threatening e5 in the future and later he can also play this rook to f3 with the rook to g3 or rook to h3. Andersson continued the game with the knight to c6, attacks the knight. Mikhail Tal defends it with the bishop to e3 and now a6, queen to e1. Mikhail Tal wants to play this queen to g3 or queen to h4. Andersson played knight captures on d4 and after bishop captures on d4 he played this b5 move, preparing this bishop to d7, so then he can attack this e4 pawn with the bishop and the knight. Mikhail Tal played rook to d1, centralizing the rook, and Andersson goes with the plan of bishop to b7. But let's see what happened if in this position he played b4. And after b4, now Mikhail Tal can play e5, b captures on c3, e captures on f6, bishop captures on f6, queen captures on c3, bishop captures, queen captures, and now this position is equal for the both players. But I would go for the Mikhail Tal position because his pieces are developed and centralized, and maybe that's the reason why Andersson didn't play the b4 move. Instead he played bishop to b7, attacking the e4 pawn with the bishop and the knight. Mikhail Tal defends it with the bishop to f3, guarding it with the bishop and the queen. Now queen to c7, e5 attacks the knight, and in this position Andersson played d captures on e5. But we will see what happens if in this position he play bishop captures on f3. Now Mikhail Tal can play e captures on f6, bishop captures on d1, f captures on e7, queen captures on e7 and now queen captures on d1. Now Andersson has the rook and a pawn in exchange for the two minor pieces, and usually it's a good trade. But if we look at this position, this does not look like a good trade, because there are no such open files for the Andersson rooks, and maybe that's the reason why in this position he played d captures on e5. Mikhail Tal played f captures on e5, attacking the knight, so knight goes to d7, bishop captures on b7, queen captures on e7 and now knight to e4, centralizing the knight. Andersson played rook a to d8 and now Mikhail Tal played rook to d3, again very attacking move, and it's simple. On the next move Mikhail Tal wants to play rook to g3 or rook to h3. Andersson replied queen to c6, attacking the c2 pawn, but Mikhail Tal didn't care about it. He played rook to g3, queen captures on c2, queen to e3. Now Mikhail Tal is threatening queen to h6 and you cannot capture it because of this rook. That's why in this position black played queen to c4, because now if Mikhail Tal play, let's say, queen to h6, then black can play queen captures on d4 check, and after knight to f2, queen captures on e5, and now black is guarding this g7 square. That's why in this position Mikhail Tal didn't play queen to h6. Instead he played the b3 move, attacking the queen, and when queen goes to d5, Mikhail Tal straight away played knight to f6 check. It's not the sacrifice because you cannot capture it with the pawn because this pawn is pinned. So Andersson replied bishop captures on f6. But let's see what happens if in this position you play knight captures on f6. After knight captures on f6, Mikhail Tal can play e captures on f6, and now this position is just winning for Mikhail Tal because your bishop is under attack, your g7 pawn is under attack, and you cannot save both of them at the same time. That's why in this position capturing with the knight was not a good idea. That's why he played bishop captures on f6, and after e captures on f6, Andersson played the g6. Mikhail Tal played rook to g4 because he wants to play queen to h6, and he cannot straight away play that because this bishop was hanging. So first rook to g4 guarding this bishop, and now Mikhail Tal can play queen to h6. Andersson played king to h8 because now if you play queen to h6, then he can play rook to g8. But first Mikhail Tal played bishop to b6, attacking the rook, and black played a rook to c8. But let's see what happens if in this position Andersson play knight captures on b6. After knight captures on b6, Mikhail Tal can play queen to h6. Let's say you play rook to g8 guarding this g7 square, but now Mikhail Tal can play rook to h4. And now there is is only one way to stop this queen captures on h7 checkmate, and that is queen to h5, giving up on your queen. That's why in this position you cannot play knight captures on b6. That's why Andersson played rook to c8. Now queen to h6, again threatening the checkmate on the g7. So first rook to g8 and now rook to d4. So stop the video and try to find why Mikhail Tal played rook to d4. The reason is simple. If we go back, Mikhail Tal is still threatening a checkmate, because if black plays some random move, Mikhail Tal can play queen captures on h7, and after king captures on h7, rook to h4 would be a checkmate, but black can play queen to h5. That's why Mikhail Tal wants to kick this queen out of this 5th rank, and that is the reason why in this position he played rook to d4. In this position, Andersson realized that Mikhail Tal attack is very strong, and that's why he gave up on his queen with the knight captures on b6, and after rook captures on d5, knight captures on d5. Mikhail Tal played rook to f3 with the simple plan of queen captures on h7, and after king captures on h7, rook to h3 would be a checkmate. That's why black is forced to play rook to c3, offering the rook exchange. Mikhail Tal accepts it. Rook captures on c3, knight captures on c3, and now queen to e3 attacking the knight. b4 saves the knight, and now queen to a7 attacking the a6 pawn and the f7 pawn. Andersson played rook to f8, but now queen to c5 attacking the rook. So now rook to b8, and after queen to d6, black resigned in this position. The reason is simple, because if you move the rook, let's say you play rook to c8, remember you cannot move this rook out of this 8th rank because of back rank checkmate threats. That's why let's say rook to c8, but now after queen captures on b4, Mikhail Tal is playing with the queen against a knight, because this rook is doing nothing and this rook cannot leave this 8th rank, and that is the reason why Andersson resigned in this game. So I hope you like this brilliant game of Mikhail Tal, and if you like it, please like this video, subscribe to this channel to get more amazing and inspiring content.